The massive Imperial warship cast a dark shadow over the United Nations building in New York. Its hull, stretching nearly 2 miles long, blocked out the morning sun like an artificial eclipse. Inside the Emergency Council chamber, world leaders watched their screens with held breath as the alien message played again. People of Earth, the Imperial messenger's voice boomed through the speakers. The Galactic Empire claims this sector as its territory. Your civilization has reached the threshold of interstellar travel. As per Imperial law, you must now submit to Empire rule or face immediate military action. You have 48 hours to decide. Admiral James Thompson stood at the chamber window, his weathered face reflecting off the glass. At 60 years old, he had spent his entire career preparing Earth's defenses for this very moment. But nothing could have prepared them for the sheer size of the Imperial fleet now positioned throughout their solar system. Their numbers are overwhelming, Defense Minister Roberts said, joining Thompson at the window. Over 3,000 warships, each carrying enough firepower to level a continent. We have barely 200 ships in our entire fleet. Thompson nodded but kept his eyes fixed on the Imperial vessel above. Numbers aren't everything, Minister. Did you see the data from our deep space probes? Before Roberts could answer, the chamber doors burst open. Captain Diana Reed rushed in, her uniform wrinkled from what must have been an all-night analysis session. She carried a tablet displaying complex energy readings. Admiral, Minister, you need to see this. She pulled up a holographic display showing the Imperial ship's shield patterns. Look at the frequency modulation. Their shields may be strong, but they're using an outdated oscillation pattern. Thompson's eyes widened as he studied the data. After 30 years in space warfare, he could spot a weakness when he saw one. The Empire's shield technology, while powerful, hadn't changed in centuries. They had never needed to improve it because no one had ever broken through. They're overconfident, Thompson said, a plan already forming in his mind. Their ships are built around those shields. Without them, they're just big targets. Reed finished his thought. The next 40 hours passed in a blur of activity. While the world's leaders debated their response to the ultimatum, Thompson and Reed worked with Earth's best engineers to modify their fleet's weapons. Mining ships were quietly moved into strategic positions, disguised as evacuation vessels. Every ship capable of carrying weapons was prepared under the cover of panic and surrender preparations. With 8 hours remaining, Thompson stood before the United Nations Security Council. Distinguished leaders, I know you're afraid. The Empire expects us to either submit or fight a hopeless battle. But they've overlooked something crucial: human creativity. He laid out his plan, watching as expressions changed from despair to cautious hope. It was risky, perhaps even crazy, but it was better than slavery or extinction. The Empire believes they're invincible because no one has ever penetrated their shields, Thompson concluded. But they've never faced humans before. We've spent our entire history solving impossible problems. Now, we'll solve one more. The Council voted unanimously. Earth would appear to surrender, but it would be the boldest deception in human history. As Thompson left the chamber, Reed fell into step beside him. The fleet is ready. Admiral, every ship has been modified with the new frequency disruptors. They won't scan as weapons. The Empire's sensors will read them as standard mining equipment. Thompson allowed himself a small smile. Send the message to the Empire. Tell them Earth wishes to surrender formally, with all proper ceremonies. Request their entire fleet's presence to witness our submission to Imperial rule. Above them, the Imperial warship continued its silent vigil, unaware that its very presence had given Earth the key to its destruction. In less than 24 hours, the galaxy would learn a valuable lesson about underestimating humans. Grand Admiral Marcus stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Imperial Might, watching Earth's blue sphere grow larger on the main display. His long career had overseen the submission of 30 different civilizations, but something about this surrender felt different. My lord, Earth's delegates are requesting permission to hold the ceremony in their orbit, his communications officer reported. They wished to demonstrate their complete submission by allowing our fleet full proximity to their world. Marcus stroked his chin thoughtfully. In all his years, no species had ever been so accommodating. Most fought until the last moment or surrendered in bitter silence. These humans seemed almost eager. Status of their military assets? Marcus asked. All warships have been recalled to their orbital stations. We're detecting numerous civilian vessels, mostly mining ships and transport craft. They appear to be evacuating some populations to their colonies on Mars. Marcus nodded. Fear often drove populations to flee before Imperial takeover. Grant their request. Position the fleet in standard dominance formation. I want every human on that planet to see our power. Aboard the Earth Defense Station, Admiral Thompson watched the Imperial fleet's approach through reinforced windows. 3,000 warships moved with perfect precision, arranging themselves in a sphere around Earth. Their formation was meant to intimidate, but it played perfectly into his plans. Mining Fleet Alpha in position near Jupiter. Captain Reed's voice came through his earpiece. Beta Fleet standing by behind Mars. All ships report disruptors are functioning and undetected. Thompson kept his voice low, though they were using secured channels. And our ceremonial vessels. 20 diplomatic ships ready for launch, each one packed with our best Marines and enough frequency disruptors to crack a continent-sized shield. The Empire's scans show them as unarmed transport craft. The next few hours were a masterpiece of deception. Earth launched its diplomatic fleet, ships painted in peaceful white and gold, supposedly carrying Earth's surrender delegation. The Imperial ships welcomed them into their formation, totally unaware of the teeth hidden behind the peaceful facade. Grand Admiral Marcus watched with satisfaction as the human ships approached. Such a complete submission would look excellent in his report to the Imperial throne. His sensors showed nothing but standard diplomatic vessels, their holds filled with the expected ceremonial items. "My lord," his tactical officer called out, "I'm detecting some unusual energy readings from the human mining ships near the outer system." Marcus waved his hand dismissively. Mining vessels always give odd readings. Their equipment interferes with our sensors. That's why we usually destroy them first during conquests. He smiled. We're being generous letting them evacuate. Thompson stood on his command bridge, watching the final pieces fall into place. The Imperial fleet had positioned itself exactly where Earth needed them. Their arrogance made them predictable. They always arranged themselves in the same ceremonial pattern for planetary surrenders. "All ships signal ready," Reed reported. "Awaiting your command." Thompson took a deep breath. Humanity's greatest gamble was about to begin. If they failed, Earth would burn. If they succeeded, the galaxy would never be the same. "Send the signal," he ordered. "Operation Checkmate begins now." The first sign that something was wrong came from the Imperial Might's shield monitoring station. The officer noticed a tiny fluctuation, barely a blip on the readings. Before he could report it, the ship's entire shield grid collapsed. "My lord," the tactical officer shouted, "we've lost shields across the entire fleet." Grand Admiral Marcus spun around, his face pale with disbelief. "Impossible. Activate secondary shields." "Nothing's responding, sir. Some kind of disruption wave. It's making our shield generators useless." The peaceful mining ships near Jupiter suddenly powered up, revealing weapon ports hidden beneath false panels. The diplomatic vessels, scattered throughout the Imperial formation, opened to release squadrons of Earth fighters. Thompson's voice echoed across all frequencies, to all Imperial vessels. "Your shields are down. Your fleet is surrounded. In case you're wondering, those mining ships you ignored, they're carrying devices specifically designed to disrupt your shield frequency." Marcus watched in horror as Earth's main fleet emerged from behind Mars. More ships appeared from behind the moon, all with weapons locked on his defenseless vessels. The humans had sprung their trap. "All batteries, open fire," Marcus commanded. But Earth's ships were too close, positioned perfectly through the deception. The first wave of missiles struck before his gunners could respond. The space around Earth erupted in a spectacular battle. Imperial ships, designed to fight behind their invincible shields, proved surprisingly vulnerable. Their heavy armor couldn't compensate for the loss of their energy barriers. Group 7 is gone, an Imperial commander reported. Groups 3 and 4 taking heavy damage. The humans, they're inside our formation. Thompson directed the battle from the defense station, watching as centuries of Imperial military doctrine crumbled. Their rigid formations, designed for shielded combat, became death traps without protection. Push through their center, he ordered. Don't let them regroup. Keep the disruption field at maximum power. Captain Reed's voice came through. Admiral, their flagship is trying to withdraw. Should we pursue? No. Let them run. I want survivors to tell this story. The battle lasted less than an hour. Imperial ships either surrendered or fled, leaving behind the wreckage of their invincible fleet, almost a third of the Empire's total naval strength, destroyed in a single engagement. In his command chair, Grand Admiral Marcus watched his tactical display turn red with losses. How? He whispered. How did they know about the shield frequency? The answer came in another broadcast from Thompson. You gave us everything we needed during your shows of force. Every time you buzzed our cities with your ships, we studied your shields. Your biggest mistake was thinking we'd just submit without a fight. As the Imperial might retreated at full speed, Marcus realized the galaxy would never be the same. Humanity hadn't just won a battle. They'd shattered the myth of Imperial invincibility. The news of Earth's victory spread through the Empire's communication networks like wildfire. Grand Admiral Marcus stood before the Imperial Council, his proud shoulders now bent with the weight of defeat. 300 ships lost, 700 more surrendered. The rest scattered across 3 sectors, he reported. The humans, they weren't just lucky. They planned this from the start. While the Empire reeled from the shock, Earth pressed its advantage. Thompson gathered his fleet commanders on the defense station's war room. The Empire's running scared, he announced, pointing to the holographic map showing enemy movements. Their closest reinforcement fleet is 2 weeks away. That gives us time to strike their nearby bases. Captain Reed pulled up intelligence reports from their new prisoners. The Imperial base on Titan is practically defenseless. They relied entirely on their shield technology. Without it, they're sitting ducks. Commander Foster finished. He had led the Marine teams that captured several Imperial ships. Their ground troops are trained to fight behind energy barriers. They've forgotten the basics of real combat. Earth's fleet moved with lightning speed. The Imperial base on Titan fell within hours. Its defenders, unable to rely on their shields, surrendered after the first orbital bombardment. The base's databanks provided locations of every Imperial installation in the solar system. Admiral Reed burst into the command center. We've decoded their quantum communications. Listen to this. The room filled with panicked Imperial transmissions. Shields failing across all sectors. Earth forces detected near Alpha Centauri. They're sharing the shield breaker technology with the resistance on Proxima. Thompson allowed himself a grim smile. The Empire made 3 mistakes. They threatened us, gave us time to prepare, and assumed we behave like all their other conquests. The counteroffensive moved faster than anyone expected. Earth ships, modified with captured Imperial drive technology, struck military bases across neighboring systems. Each victory provided more ships, more resources, and more allies. The Empire's response was chaos. Their entire military doctrine collapsed. Ships refused to engage without functioning shields. Commanders, trained to rely on technological superiority, found themselves outmaneuvered by human tactics. My lord, an Imperial captain reported to Marcus, we're detecting human ships near the Arcturus garrison. There, they're broadcasting our shield frequencies to every subjugated world in the sector. Marcus watched his empire crumble. The humans hadn't just defeated his fleet. They'd given every oppressed species the tool they needed to fight back. In Earth's war room, Thompson studied reports of uprisings across Imperial space. Send this message to all rebel forces. Earth stands with you. The Empire's shields can't protect them anymore. It's time to take back your freedom. The counterattack had become a revolution. Humanity's bold move hadn't just saved Earth. It had changed the balance of power across the galaxy. The Imperial Palace on Capital World trembled as protesters filled the streets. News screens everywhere showed the same images. Earth ships helping rebellion after rebellion succeed across the galaxy. In a secret bunker beneath the Imperial Science Academy, the Empire's top researchers worked frantically to modify their shield technology. But it was too late. Every change they made was quickly countered by Earth's engineers, who had spent decades studying adaptation and innovation. Another sector lost, reported the Imperial Minister of Defense. The Andromeda Arm colonies have declared independence. They're using modified Earth disruptors to disable our orbital defenses. The Empire's response grew desperate. They tried reverting to ancient weapons, pre-shield combat tactics, but their soldiers and crews had forgotten these arts. Generations of reliance on shield technology had left them vulnerable. Thompson stood on the bridge of his new flagship, a captured Imperial dreadnought renamed Earth's Hope. The ship's previous commander had surrendered after a brief fight, unable to comprehend how his mighty vessel had become so vulnerable. "Status report," Thompson called out. Captain Reed, now commanding her own battle group, appeared on the main screen. The Orion sector is fully liberated. Local species are forming their own defense fleets using our shield breaker technology. They're calling it the Earth Protocol. The ripples spread faster than anyone could have predicted. Species that had been subjugated for centuries found courage in Earth's example. Imperial propaganda had always portrayed humans as primitive, but now they were seen as liberators. These humans, a rebel leader from the Carina sector announced, they didn't just break the Empire's shields. They broke the Empire's spell over us. They showed us that the impossible was possible. Commander Foster led a special operation to extract resistance leaders from Imperial prison worlds. During one mission, he found something unexpected: Imperial citizens helping the rebels. The Empire's own people had begun questioning their society's foundations. "Sir," Foster reported to Thompson, "we're getting defectors. Imperial citizens, even some military officers. They say Earth showed them a better way. Cooperation instead of domination." The Empire's mighty fleet, once the galaxy's most feared force, now couldn't leave port without facing resistance. Their ships were attacked not just by Earth's forces, but by countless rebel fleets using Earth's technology. In less than 3 months, a third of Imperial space had declared independence. The Empire's economy, built on exploiting subjugated worlds, began to collapse. Their 1,000-year reign was crumbling, all because they'd threatened the wrong planet. Thompson watched the latest reports with quiet satisfaction. "Send word to all rebel forces. Earth stands ready to help any world fight for freedom. The time of Imperial dominance is over." The great hall of the former Imperial Palace now hosted representatives from 100 liberated worlds. Thompson stood at the podium, looking out at faces of various species, all former subjects of the Empire, now free. "Earth doesn't seek to replace the Empire," he announced. "We propose an alliance of equals. Each world governs itself, but we stand together against any who would threaten our freedom." The hall erupted in approval. Captain Reed, standing beside Thompson, activated the holographic display showing their proposed alliance territory, nearly half the known galaxy. "The Earth Alliance opens its arms to all," Reed declared, "even former Imperial worlds willing to embrace cooperation over conquest." Grand Admiral Marcus watched from the back of the hall. After his fleet's defeat, he'd surrendered to Earth forces. Now he served as a bridge between former Imperial worlds and the new alliance. "The Empire was wrong about humans," Marcus addressed the gathering. "We saw their creativity as primitive, their adaptability as weakness. We thought their division into nations made them vulnerable. Instead, these traits made them stronger than our forced unity ever could. The alliance took shape rapidly. Earth shared not just their shield-breaking technology, but their scientific knowledge, their art, their cultures. Other species shared their own advances, creating a renaissance of innovation and progress. Commander Foster led the new Alliance Defense Force training program. The Empire relied on one advantage, their shields. He told his mixed-species crew, "We'll teach you to think creatively, to adapt, to find solutions where others see only obstacles." In orbit above the former capital world, Thompson and Reed watched ships from dozens of species working together to dismantle the last Imperial defense platforms. "Did you ever imagine this?" Reed asked, "when we first detected their fleet approaching Earth." Thompson shook his head. "We just wanted to survive. Instead, we sparked a revolution." A junior officer rushed in. "Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from beyond known space. Something big is coming." Thompson smiled. "Send word to all Alliance worlds. Whatever's coming, we'll face it together." The galaxy learned one crucial lesson: never underestimate humanity's ability to overcome impossible odds. The Alliance fleet assembled, ships of all shapes and sizes, crewed by beings from across the galaxy. United not by force or fear, but by choice and mutual respect. Earth's bold move hadn't just defeated an empire. It had birthed something entirely new. The mysterious energy signatures turned out to be refugees, survivors from other galaxies fleeing their own versions of the Empire. They had heard stories of Earth's victory and the new alliance, seeking hope among the stars. Thompson stood on the observation deck of Earth's Hope, watching the refugee ships dock with Alliance stations. "Every story has an echo," he said to Reed. "Our victory showed others that change is possible." The former Imperial Palace, now Alliance headquarters, hosted its first intergalactic diplomatic summit. Representatives from 3 neighboring galaxies sat alongside Alliance members, sharing stories of oppression and dreams of freedom. Grand Admiral Marcus, now serving as an Alliance advisor, addressed the gathering. The Empire's greatest weakness wasn't its reliance on shields. It was the belief that strength comes from domination. Earth showed us true strength comes from unity and innovation. The Alliance's influence spread beyond military matters. Earth's universities welcomed students from thousands of worlds. The exchange of knowledge and culture led to breakthroughs in science, medicine, and space travel. Commander Foster's training programs became legendary. The Empire taught obedience. He explained to a class of mixed-species recruits, "We teach thinking." They demanded conformity. "We celebrate diversity." That's why they fell, and why we grow stronger. Thompson received an urgent message one morning. The Empire's last holdout worlds were requesting membership in the Alliance. Their populations had seen the prosperity of free worlds and demanded change. "The galaxy's entering a golden age," Reed observed, watching the former Imperial worlds join the Alliance network, not through conquest, but through cooperation. The Alliance established new principles: freedom of choice, sharing of knowledge, mutual defense, and respect for all sentient life. These ideas spread across space like ripples in a cosmic ocean. "What's our next challenge?" a young officer asked Thompson during the Alliance's first anniversary celebration. Thompson gestured to the star map showing unexplored regions. "Out there, someone else needs help breaking free from their chains. Earth's message is simple: impossible odds only exist if you accept them." The story of Earth's bold move became legend, taught on countless worlds, not just as a military victory, but as proof that creativity, courage, and cooperation could overcome any obstacle. And somewhere in the vast darkness between galaxies, other civilizations looked toward Alliance space with hope, knowing that impossible odds could be beaten, and that help would come if they dared to stand up for freedom.